Hello, Clodagh Rodgers there in beautiful West Sussex. I assume it's a beautiful place there, Clodagh?
Good morning to you, Nick. How are you in Australia?
The weather's suddenly turned on us, so it was quite warm, and it's a wintry evening tonight, I'm afraid.
Oh, well, we're having what we call an Indian summer. We're having 23 and 24 degrees in England at the moment, which is quite unheard of. I mean, as poor British, we really suffer for 4 to 5 months every year with this terrible cold.
But I suppose you're used to that.
Well, we are used to it, but I'm not one of these people that goes, oh, I love all the seasons. I definitely don't like winter. I like the sunshine, I like the warmth.
You'd prefer to visit your son quite often then?
Yes, I will go to Dubai for Christmas this year.
Will it be hot? Because it'll be winter there technically, wouldn't it?
Well, yes, but because you're in the desert, the average temperature will probably be about 80 degrees. Chill down in the evening, and then you do get the odd sandstorm where you kind of open the curtains and you can't see a thing. It looks like fog, but it is lovely. We're in the middle of winter here in England. I normally go to him for about 2 or 3 weeks.
So, Clodagh, as we were discussing a bit about your family...
I have one son who lives in Dubai and another son who lives in New York. So I go and visit those places quite a bit to see them.
And they visit their mother too?
They do indeed. My younger son has worked in television. He was a researcher on the X Factor and works for a big company in Dubai. They do all the commercials. A lot of companies go to Dubai to film. Around September time, it's ideal weather conditions, and they do all the Emirates Airlines commercials, and that's what he does. He's production manager.
And what about your son in New York?
My son in New York is a property broker. He was a property broker in Dubai. He's just got married in August, and to a girl that he knew 13 years ago. How weird is that? They met up again and married within 6 months. Yes, so he now lives in New York. Funny thing is, I never pressure them, and I kind of let them lead their own lives. They're grown men now. You know, one is 38, the other one is 30, so... But I'm very close to my boys. They always kind of run things by me. What do you think, Mum? They always kind of ask me for my opinion, whether they take it or not, but they do ask.
You've got lots of brothers and sisters?
I have 2 brothers and 1 sister.
Okay, because I've come across Lavinia. There's some YouTube stuff that Lavinia...
Oh, Lavinia has backed over the years, I think, every major singer, from Barbra Streisand to Engelbert Humperdinck, Dusty Springfield. I mean, obviously she's retired now. She doesn't sing anymore. But, yes, she had a very successful career. She was in a group called Three's a Crowd.
And your brother Lewis? My
brother Lewis was head of promotion at Epic Records. And my older brother was head of A&R at Decca Records. Yes, we were all in the music business, which we got from our father, a promoter, and we kind of started through him. Yes, my father, when I was very young, probably about 12, 13, went into the entertainment business, and he brought a lot of American acts to Ireland, and huge British stars at that time was Adam Faith and Alma Cogan, and they would come over and do maybe a 10-day tour around all the ballrooms, because that was the only entertainment in Ireland then. It was like these huge ballrooms in the middle of nowhere that would hold 2,000 people, and they'd have show bands, and then the star would come on. And then he supplied a lot of the acts to the American bases, and they were in Spain and Germany and Libya, Tripoli. And he would bring in huge country and western stars, Hank Lachlan, Johnny Cash, the Carter family. And I would perform on those shows when I was like 15 or 16. So I worked all that area with these huge stars.
Did you need much encouragement, or did you just go straight for the stage?
It was like the norm, because I'd been singing from I was 12. When I left school at 15, and I just automatically went into performing and singing.
So was your father always like a promoter, or was he doing something else beforehand as well?
My father had a tailor's shop when I was a child, but we had like a sort of town hall in our little town in Ireland, and my father would always be roped in to kind of do the entertainment, and I think that's where it came from.
Where were you born, Clodagh?
I was born in Northern Ireland, in Warren Point, County Down.
How far is that from Belfast?
Oh, about 50 miles. Coastal town is beautiful.
The Troubles, did that affect you at all?
Well, the funny thing is, I was never, ever aware of it as a child. I didn't feel there was any hostility where I lived. We certainly never heard it from our parents. And, of course, when we left Ireland, I was 15. So we all kind of grew up in London. And then my parents, when they retired, they went back to live in Ireland.
The kids stayed in London?
Well, we were all grown up and married when my parents returned. They loved Ireland and they really wanted to go back.
So look, when you were singing at that young age and then the family moved, did your father set a career path? Was there a career path that you could follow as a professional singer, or were there other alternatives for you?
My father just so believed in me and encouraged me and got me a audition at Decca Records. He had an artist in, I don't know if you remember him, he was called Mike Preston. His big hit record was I'm Mr. Blue, and he was having a recording session in West Hampstead, and I went along and I auditioned in the middle of his recording session for Hugh Mendel, who was then the head of A&R at Decca Records, and I got a contract with them, and I was just 15.
Once they signed you, they would have taken charge of your career, would that be right?
They would have taken charge of the recording career, but my father was in sort of total control of performing, and I was then performing every weekend at all these American bases throughout England. I would work with, and they were unknown then, Val Doonigan, and I would be the supporting act, Val Doonigan, who wasn't famous then at all. I worked at all those shows and recorded at the same time. I never had another job. I never had a job. I was always singing.
Well, that's a good way to go if you enjoy singing.
Yes, yes. It was a big move for my father, because he so believed that I could make it. He uprooted the whole family and moved to London. And that was a big, big thing then. That was in 1963, because my younger brother and sister were very young men. They were school age. So it was a really courageous thing to do.
But Clodagh, he was right.
He always so believed in me. He was fantastic. He was so encouraging,
Around this time when you signed to Decca, there was a couple of these musical quickies, these films. And up on YouTube, there's excerpts from these films, and there's a very young Clodagh singing.
Yes. Is it the films, Just for Fun?
Just for Fun, and there's...
All Over Town.
It's All Over Town. They've got Sweet, Sweet Boy, and My Love Will Still Be There, which is a beautiful, a set. An obvious artificial-looking movie set, but it's really well designed anyway. It looks really good.
That song, My Love Will Still Be There, was written by Richard Kerr, who wrote a lot of Dionne Warwick's hits. Heartbreaker, he wrote that. He was only 19, and he was with, I think, RCA Records then, and Richard wrote that song, and he became extremely successful. Wrote with, the writer of Mandy, Scott
English.
Yes, Scott English, and they wrote together all the time. So that song was written by Richard, who was then totally unknown.
What I did note looking at YouTube was that even though you were very young, A, you looked very photogenic, but B, but you look...
With the famous ponytail.
Yes, it's such an interesting hairstyle.
Do you know, that hairstyle was influenced by... Well, I don't know how old you are, Nick. I'm going way back now to a program called 77 Sunset Strip. Connie Stevens was the kind of female lead in that, who had a hairstyle like that, and I so wanted my hair like hers.
I think it works. It's unusual.
It's like I've got one hairstyle at the front and a ponytail at the back.
At the back, yeah. But also, you looked comfortable in your own skin doing that. You would have had a large camera pointing at you, and you would have had studio lights.
I was. But you see, I think when you're young, you have no fear. It's as you get older, you get the fear.
So that's something you developed along the way.
You develop it along the way, you get the fear. I go into a major panic now if I'm traveling anywhere. I start packing a week before. Years ago, I could pack a couple of hours before I left. So I think I'm turning into my mother, who used to really panic when she would travel.
Oh, well, look, as long as you're prepared, there's less panic. Do you do any singing anymore, no?
No, I haven't. The last time I was singing was in 1995. I did Blood Brothers in London, the musical, and that was the last time.
That's quite a distance now, 20 years nearly.
Yes, it is.
Just going back to the early days, Jim Reeves, the guy who had He'll Have to Go, he somehow spotted you and he flew you all the way to Nashville.
My father had Jim Reeves on tour in Ireland, and just one night at one of his shows, he said, come up and sing with us. I, again, was 15. he sat down, he played the piano, and I sang with him. But I never went to Nashville. My father went to Nashville because he loved country music, and he had an amazing knack of picking songs that were going to be hits. And I was brought up listening to Patsy Cline. I mean, I was listening to Crazy when I was 15. He loved that kind of music. So I was weaned on people like Patsy Cline. I mean, he could spot a hit song. I mean, he was amazing. This is going to be a hit and that's going to be a hit. And they always were. And when you think he was playing Patsy Cline 50 years ago, that's quite something.
Back to Decca. Now, you did 4 singles with Decca, but unfortunately they weren't hits.
Because I had such a strong voice for somebody so young, they kind of perceived me as a big ballad singer. So everything I recorded for Decca was always, you know, very big ballads. And they just didn't find the right niche for me. So, yes, when my contract ran out, they didn't renew.
And then your father got you at Columbia? Would I be right in saying that?
Yes, yes. I met my husband when I was 19, and he was a promotion man, and he worked for Arthur Howe's, and they put on huge concerts in London with people like the Walker Brothers. And when we got married, he took over my management, and he got me my contract at RCA Records, which kind of changed everything for me.
That'd be John Morris, was your husband?
Yes. First songs were, again, big ballads. And I was only on a 3-record contract. One was a Richard Kerr song again. Richard Kerr actually produced those first 2 records I had with them. I was on 3 singles, and it was 3 and you're out. Number 3 was a really lucky one. I did a program called Colour Me Pop, and Kenny Young who was very, very successful then, had written Under the Boardwalk, and he had a lot of hits with Reparata and the Delrons. And he happened to be watching that show and called up the BBC and said, who is that girl and who does she record for? And they gave him the information, and he approached RCA and said, I have a song that will suit this girl. And I met him in the offices of RCA, and on a guitar he sang me Come Back and Shake Me.
Which started the ball rolling big time for you.
He perceived me totally different to any other record producer. He didn't see this big voice with ballads. He said to me, you're very commercial when you sing higher. So he kind of pushed me out of my range and gave me a different sound.
Well, it was a sound that clicked with the public too, wasn't it?
It really was. It took off, that record.
I must say also, Clodagh, that I love the B-side as well. I'm a Fantasy. That's one of your best songs, I think.
He was very, very clever, Kenny, because if you listen to his records, there was always a counter melody. There was like the lead singer, but then there was always vocal backings singing another hook. There was kind of 2 hooks to his songs. And he did that with Goodnight Midnight. His vocal backings, they were always amazing. He was very, very clever.
Obviously, you must have got on with him well.
I loved Kenny. We were both young. I can't remember what age Kenny was when we recorded, but we had such fun recording together. He had a fantastic sense of humour, and he would push you in directions you didn't think you could go. He was fantastic to work with.
Do you know what brought him over to England? Because he was American.
Yes, American. I don't know what brought him over. I mean, it was just lucky for me that he did. One
of my other favourite songs, this is one of the catchiest songs, and it's you and Kenny together, but you're called Moonshine.
Yeah.
Just a little more light. And I love that breathy, I can't do it, but that is so catchy.
I mean about him, he's always got a couple of things going on in a record that you can sing. Great fun. I thought that was a really good record.
And that was one that wasn't a hit, but if your name had have been on that, maybe it would have been.
Yes, maybe. Yeah, we probably should have put it out under our own names.
Was there a reason to put it under the Moonshine label? Or?
I think he wanted to do that. He wanted to put it out like that.
Well, it's on the compilation Come Back and Shake Me, the Kenny Young Years, so it's good that it's been digitally put out there, because unfortunately, Clodagh, a lot of your stuff hasn't been put in the digital realm.
Yes, no, you see, I'm totally out of touch with stuff like that.
Where were we? We were up to John Morris. Oh, okay, so he signed you to a 3-year deal with RCA and Come Back and Shake Me. So did the world change for you? Did it suddenly get very busy? What happens when you have a big hit single like that, Clodagh?
Well, it becomes hectic. hectic because you are in demand for TV shows, and of course at that time it was all big variety shows. I would perform with all the top comedians. They'd all have series, and so yes, it became live performances and recording albums and following through, working.
Things I've heard that, when you get famous, they say that you stay the same but the people around you change. Now, did you find that, or was it just, like you said, just a lot more hectic and a lot more busier?
It was just a lot busier. Everything goes on a different level because when you have a hit record, then the thing is to follow it up with another hit. I'm sure it's still the same today. So, but I didn't feel the pressure because I was kind of a seasoned performer by then. I've been singing live for so many years. It wasn't as if I'd come out of nowhere and thrown into it. I kind of served my apprenticeship.
Obviously, you were in big demand, and that you were the best-selling female singles artist of 1969. So you beat all comers.
Yes. Yes, that was quite something. I can remember working at the London Palladium. I did a 4-month thing there, and during the day I'd record and then I'd go and do the show at night. So it became really hectic.
Did you get enough sleep?
Well, the thing is, you'd fall asleep in the recording studios. I mean, you'd just fall asleep on a pile of coats if you could find them. But it was kind of the norm. That's how you did it.
Those London Palladium shows, they've got a little bit of that on YouTube. There's many YouTube clips of you up there on the internet. There's an interesting one where you tell your life story in song up to that point in time when you're singing that song, which would have been the early 70s. Do you have any memories of that?
Oh, yes. I used to do a kind of history of my career. And that became part of my stage act.
Because also part of your stage act was that you did impressions too, because there's one of you doing a fantastic Cilla Black one.
Oh, I did the best Cilla Black impersonation ever. Yes, I used to do impersonations. I have seen that clip of me on the Mike Yarwood show doing Cilla Black.
What you do is you get the mouth right. You get Cilla's mouth, the shape.
Yeah, I could really mimic her because she was quite individual and she used to do all these very obvious movements. As long as you got the voice, that you could get the movements.
Eurovision was big then and it's still big now. You've got to explain this to me. You went on a Cliff Richard TV show and you did a song every week, and then it was up to the viewers to choose which song was going to go into the...
Yes, that was the Eurovision Song Contest. I don't know if you've heard about it in Australia.
It's very popular here.
Yes, and that was called A Song for Europe. Songwriters would write a song for the artist that was representing the UK, and every week I would sing one of the 6 songs, and then the public would vote for that song to be the entry.
The one they chose was Jack in the Box.
Yes, unfortunately.
Why do you say that?
Well, there was a lot of really good songs that year. There was a lovely song called Another Time, Another Place that eventually became a hit for Engelbert Humperdinck after the Eurovision. And I thought we would have stood a better chance with that. Although it was a huge hit for me and it was a top 3 record, it's kind of, people remember that more than all the other stuff.
Well, it only came 4th, didn't it?
Yes, it came 4th, but everybody thinks I won it because it was such a huge hit record.
Of course, on YouTube, you're there singing it, and you've got these pink hot pants, which are just... Can you explain?
Yes. Well, it was the era then of the miniskirt, and the hot pants were really just coming in then. So the BBC decided that they'd like me to wear the hot pants, and what people didn't know is at all the rehearsals, I had a long skirt over those hot pants that nobody would see them or copy them before the programme, and I only unveiled the hot pants on the actual live performance.
Things were that competitive even back then, huh?
Even back then it was like, people might just copy this, so we're going to cover them up, and the only people that will be aware you're wearing hot pants will be the director of the programme, and we unveiled the famous hot pants.
Even these days, a lot of it is based on the visual look in the Eurovision when they show up
here.
It's
very much on the visual now. Don't you think?
Probably more so, because the guy who won the last one, he was dressed as a woman when he had a beard.
Yes. Yes. Kind of pushes my hot pants into insignificance.
It does, doesn't it? Clodagh, that's what the kids like these days.
It is. That is. Yeah. I'm glad I'm not in it now.
Otherwise you'd have to have a beard.
I'd have to have a beard.
And you'd have to match it the same colour as your hair too. But getting on to something else silly, you won, now I don't know if this was a real award, the best legs in British show business.
Well, that was at a time when all the fashion designers were bringing in the midi. They were bringing in the skirt, the calf length. And I think the Daily Express, the newspaper, went on this campaign to save the mini and who had done the most for the mini skirt. But all of a sudden I just got a phone call to say, you've won the girl who's done the most for the mini skirt. So that's how that award came about.
Did that increase your appearance fee or anything like that?
No, not at all.
Well, I thought they might have seen the Midnight Clodagh album where you're wearing a very long dress down to your ankles, except you've got your left leg forward.
Actually, when I look at them now, some of the promotion shots that I did were quite sort of ahead of their time because none of the girl singers were kind of doing that. There's a famous one of me as well, sitting on a stool on top of a fur coat, and I've just got a black shirt on. It's a very Kylie Minogue kind of shot, and none of the other girl singers were doing that.
What's strange to me, looking back, is I've got the Midnight Clodagh record here, and it's quite provocative and very sexy because you're also standing on like a fur coat. And 2 albums later, You Are My Music, you're on the cover and you're doing the gardening.
Yes. Is that the one in the Bluebells?
That's the one, yes.
On a white T-shirt.
Big contrast. And a bike in the front. And a bike in the front.
You can't keep wearing those nighties forever, Nick.
Fair enough. I thought the company was trying to change your image or tone you down a bit or something.
No, I don't think they were.
My first recognition of your name, Clodagh, was I liked a TV show on late at night on our version of the BBC. It was called the ABC, and it was a fantastic show. It was hilarious. It was called Monty Python's Flying Circus.
Yes.
And you know where I'm going with this. Now, you do, yeah. Now, one of the episodes, one of the characters in the Monty Python episode, played by Terry Jones, he got hit on the head and he turned into Clodagh Rodgers. Were Monty Python fans of yours, or do you know anything?
Do you know, I didn't even know that they had done that. Just somebody mentioned it to me. Did you see Monty Python last night? The whole programme was about you. And, of course, even if they took the mickey out of you, you were so flattered that they did because they were sort of iconic. So it was quite something, that Monty Python.
Well, there's the old Oscar Wilde saying, what did he say? There is one thing worse than being talked about, and that's not being talked about.
Being talked about. As Father used to say, any publicity is good publicity as long as they spell your name right.
Yes, and yours wasn't an easy name to spell either.
No, it wasn't, because when I was with Decca Records, they actually removed the GH. On my old records, it's Cloda, because they said people won't be able to pronounce that name over in England, so it became Clodagh.
What would they have done in the old days with Sinead O'Connor?
Yes. So I suddenly got the true spelling of my name again when I left them.
It's more distinctive with the GH, especially for non-Irish people, because I think that's a fairly common...
It is a common name in Ireland, Clodagh, but it's unusual. You don't run into many Clodaghs. I haven't met a lot of Clodaghs. I think I've met 2. Yes.
Well, I can tell you, besides yourself, I know not of any other Clodaghs. You're probably the only famous Clodagh, would I be right?
I think there's quite a famous Irish designer called Clodagh.
She might have been named after you.
She might have been.
There you go. By this time, Clodagh, you were basically in all of Britain a household name, and you're kept very busy and you're having hits. Did you still enjoy it? Did you still like the routine, or was there a routine?
Yes, I definitely still enjoyed it. I was very ambitious when I was young, but my head frame began to change when I had my first son, and I didn't like going away on long trips, and I took the baby with me everywhere. So I could feel my kind of outlook changing towards performing when I had Matthew.
I'm not sure if Matthew was born yet, but there was a bit of a break. Because what happened, RCA, you did 5 records for RCA from 69 to 73. So did you break it off with them, or what happened?
I think I stayed with RCA, and I think I left RCA when my working relationship finished with Kenny. Okay. I then moved to Polydor, didn't I? Yes,
Polydor. And you did the Save Me album, which was, I think it was 4 years after the last RCA album.
Yes, I did the Save Me album with Guy Fletcher and Doug Flett. I enjoyed enormously working with. I was still performing and still doing shows, yes. Of course, I became pregnant with Matthew, and I was doing a lot of live performances in England at that time, but I kind of pulled back on my performances when I was pregnant.
And then, Clodagh, you started doing a few musicals?
I did. I did a musical called Pump Boys and Dinettes, a show that had come from Broadway. I did that in London. It was just a small cast, 6. That was fantastic. I enjoyed that very much.
Was it a very different routine to what you'd been doing before?
I always approached everything the same. We had the rehearsals for a couple of months, and then we would have the performances in London, which suited me fine because I could be with my children during the day and go to work in the evening, and I wasn't away from home, I wasn't travelling, so it fitted into my routine a lot better.
Also, you've done a bit of acting as well, straight acting.
Yes, I did, in The Bill. I think it was shown in Australia.
It was. It ran for a long time, didn't it?
Yeah. Unfortunately, my character, when my character was brought in, they killed off my son, so they didn't need the mother anymore.
Oh.
Yes, that is something I would love to have done even at a young age when it wasn't considered the thing for singers to act. Even in my 30s, I would love to have gone into acting. I always thought that was a kind of thing I missed out on. I would love to have done a more straight acting. I enjoyed it ever so much, and I should have pursued it more than I did.
Also, you're in the restaurant business.
They opened this business at the time that England went into a major recession in the late 80s, and of course people weren't dining out, and our business was run on business accounts, so we lost the business, fortunately, but we were one of thousands of businesses that went under, and you just pick yourself up, dust yourself off and get going again.
Must have been a stressful time for you, though?
It was a very stressful time because our children were quite young. I think it affected Ian,
your husband,
more than it did me. I kind of thought, well, we're young, we're all together, we're healthy, we'll just start again. And I very much had that attitude, but I think it took a great toll on his health. And 3 years after the business folded, Ian unfortunately died. He was only 44.
Clodagh, I've heard that you're working on your memoirs.
My sister keeps saying to me almost on a daily basis, you've got to write your life story because it's so interesting. And I really should do it. I should do it. It would be quite an interesting book.
Well, so why don't you do it? Do it now.
I know. I've got to do it. I've got to do it.
Good on you.
It's a nice time for me, touch wood. I'm healthy, thank you God. And life is good. I can't complain.
And you've got people from Australia interested in what you're up to.
Yes, and funnily enough, my sister, when she went to school, 10 years old, she had 2 friends she's got to this very day. And one of them, at 19, went to live in Australia, an Irish girl, which is unheard of then for somebody to go to Australia. And Maureen still lives there. She comes back. We had a holiday in France with her last year, and she lives on the Gold Coast. So if you're listening, Maureen, lots of love to you. I've never been to Australia. I'd love to go. I've never been. It's a shame.
You'll have to, because you've got to visit your Maureen. You can't let her do all the visiting.
I know. My sister has been to Australia, fell in love with it, just loved it. And we keep saying, we must go. Just that flight, Nick.
It's a long one.
Mind you can stop off in Dubai now. I know, I'd love to go. It's on the bucket list.
Well, the people at RPM, they've done a fantastic job, Clodagh, with the compilation, The Kenny Young Years, and in my personal opinion, I think they were probably your best years. But look, you've done a lot of great stuff anyway. A wonderful, smooth voice. Did you have any vocal training, or is this just a natural thing for you?
No, I never had any vocal training. I just don't know where. My mother wasn't musical. My father was musical, but my mother wasn't. So I think it came from my father's side of the family. But I can't remember any of them being singers. Even my younger brother's got a great voice.
There must be something down there, down the family line. Has anyone done a family tree?
Yeah, I tell you what, there's a website which my brother has put together, and it's a whole thing on our family tree dating right back, and it's called, you have to go and have a look at it, Nick, it's called I think it's called RTV 62. And there's actually a film there of, I went to Ireland and did a show for St. Patrick's Day. My brother is singing the lead and my sister and I are backing him. It's such an interesting website he's done. It's the history of the whole family. And you must go on because my brother, we sing this amazing song and he's got such a beautiful voice. And he was in a group called the Columbia Brothers. But you'll find that very interesting, that website.
Okay. Is Rodgers an Irish name?
I don't know. I think our name was originally McClory. In the times of the Troubles, dating back way before my grandfather, it was changed to Rodgers.
To make it sound English, was it?
Yes, to make it sound English.
And they put the D in there.
Yes, that's right, which is the English spelling.
Look, I want to thank you very much for taking time to talk with us, and
well, it's a pleasure.
You've had a fabulous career, and 50 years later, we're still listening to you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Lovely to talk to you, Nick. Lovely.
Right, yep.
You take care of yourself. Okay.
Yep.
Bye, Nick.